We rolling. We got Matt McKenzie in the house.
What's up?
Man, thanks so much for being here.
I know. This is so good. Thank you for having me, and just a blessing to get to know two awesome industry professionals and jam a little bit.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out that he's wearing a CU hat, which
I know.
Scope
Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I grew up a Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
So
All
like
right.
I grew up, I saw Rudy in the theaters when I was like 13 years old.
One of the
I was
best
sold.
football movies ever,
Right?
right?
Best sports movies ever.
I was just in South Bend, actually.
Oh, were
So,
you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how people live there, man. There's so much
Yeah.
snow and it's so cold.
Yeah. Did you visit the campus?
I was there for like a conference, and we
Okay.
drove by it, but
Yeah.
we didn't actually go to Notre Dame, but we were in the area. So
Well,
yeah.
this is the first year, and Andrew and I have known each other since we were 13. This is the first year that CU football has been able to be in our house.
There we go.
Every
Well, 1989.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I think Notre Dame. I think they beat us I think CU won in 1989, and I was heartbroken. I was 7 years old. They won the national championship.
Yeah.
And Rocket Ishmael, who was one of my favorite players for Notre Dame, he was a kick returner. He took it all the way to like end the game, but there was a clip that got called back. So so CU actually won the championship against Notre Dame. So I had bitter feelings like my entire life against CU.
Wow.
So yeah, so it goes way back, but I really like what Dion's doing over there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Sco Buffs, Coach Prime, all day.
all day. Well, you're loving that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, give us a little introduction about
Yeah.
you. So, like, tell us about your background.
Yeah.
What company are you with? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm the director of lead generation at Community. Community is a real estate platform that real estate agents can partner with to increase their profit, get their time back, and ultimately get what they want. So time is like the most precious commodity that we have. We don't get any more or less of it, and we don't know how much we're actually going to get either. So our company just really wants to come alongside of real estate agents to give them those back-end services, from providing leads to transaction services to listing services, coaching, throwing client events, like the whole 9 yards. And it's really cool. So if you're listening to this, you've probably heard the name Jordan Terrell thrown around a bunch in the industry and here locally in Denver. So Jordan Terrell is the CEO of Community. I get the privilege of leading Community alongside of him and 5 other people. So yeah, my role is director of lead generation. I basically just help agents know exactly what to say to their clients, make sure they have enough people to say it to, and just repeat that process over and over again. Like, I help them know exactly what to say and make sure they have enough people to say it to. So
You guys are crushing it, too. Every time I go online, I see an event or I see like just something involving growth with your company, and it's awesome to see. It looks like you guys are really taking off and crushing it in this market.
Yeah, it was wild, guys. Like, most of our industry is down 30-40%, right? And it was a tough year.
Yeah.
Tough couple years.
And this is such an emotional business, right? We often it's really hard to like encapsulate that across the market, but it's really hard to be a real estate agent right now, because business is not flying off the shelf. And I honestly think those COVID years maybe did a little bit of a disservice, because it got us used to like easy layups. And my friend Robbie T, who's another lead conversion nerd like me in the industry, he says like we were playing on a little Tykes hoop, and we need to learn how to play on a 10-foot hoop, because that's what this business actually is, So
Well, that's what it did to everyone, even the most experienced professionals. And we're in lending, and I got it in 2010 and was successful leading up to 2020. And then when 2020 happened, it was like so much business coming in. Everyone wanted to refinance, and if they didn't want to refinance, they wanted to get into the purchase market. And it was so easy. And like you alluded to, we kind of lost like our sales ability. We lost our skills.
This is a skills-based game. Like sales is all about relationship, and relationships take skill to develop. Like, it's a skill. That's not something that happens overnight. So I think that honestly, that's what's led to our success, is we win the relationship first. So I say this a lot. Lead conversion does not happen when you close the deal. It's when you win the relationship. And so if you focus on winning the relationship first, the rest of it's just minutia. And that's a hard thing to do, though, right? So
it is.
I think that, like, and I talk about this a lot, and my background is like training on culture and climate, but like, literally connection and relationship is everything. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if it's your family. It doesn't matter if like you're a teacher, you're an educator, you're a real estate agent. Like, your ability to connect, well, especially as a coach, you have to connect with humans for them to be able to, like, lead those people, right? But like, you have to be connecting to people on like a human level.
Yep. We really do. And even like this, it's like let me ask you this, like, for you guys in your lending practice, like, how do you win relationships? Because I'm guessing you do that.
Serve.
Like,
yeah.
Okay. So serve. You talk a little bit more about, like, what do you mean by that? Like,
right.
Serve.
So, I want to be a partner with a borrower and with a real estate agent. I want to be part of that team. Yeah. What can I do? This is a group effort. What can we do on the lending side to, obviously move that client through the process to make sure that they have a successful transaction. But then what about after closing happens? How are we able to build that relationship with that client so that then we can get more referrals from their friends and their family, because we want to serve them too.
Yep.
And I think when you walk into a relationship with a client or a person with the whole mindset being like, who can we serve today, or how can we like help this human being that's standing in front of us like get a little bit better at whatever they want to do, that really like transforms the connection and the relationship that you have with people. And it takes it like outside of like a lending perspective or like a real estate perspective. It's really like,
because there's so many, like it's so competitive. Like, how are you, that's kind of what we talk about, is like what sets us apart, because like there's really only like 4 or 5 loan programs in the market. There's not, I mean, there's conventional FHA, VA, like there's a few options, but like what's different? Why choose us? And it really is though relationship based, but it takes a while to like, if you're not, and from a coaching standpoint, which I'm curious about what you do, coaching agents, and especially from a lead conversion standpoint, not everyone is like built with empathy and the relationship aspect of things. Like how, like and I think that, and we need a coach, I think, to learn some of those skills. Like, what do you do on a day-to-day basis with coaching your agents around that?
So empathy is, I've learned how to have it. So I'm coming up on 3 years of marriage with my wife, Rebecca. And she's taught me more about empathy than anyone ever has, because she's actually a labor and delivery nurse. And so she's with people on the best or worst day of their life, depending on the situation. And so that's what empathy is just being able to walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. And so when you get on the phone with somebody, our mindset is typically, what can I get from this person? We need to shift that and to say, how can I serve this person? How can I help this person feel seen, known, loved, valued for who they are? Because every human on planet Earth has that need, right? And if we can help fulfill that need as real estate professionals, we'll win the relationship. Not every time, because there are people that you shouldn't work with, frankly. So I have the agents on our team at Community. I have them ask them, this is how we do pipeline management too, by the way. Like, we ask these 3 questions. Who wants to work with me? That's the first question. Those are the people you pour your heart and soul into, right? You literally just serve them. You make things happen, right? And you can only give a high level of service to a very few amount of people. So in a world that's full of like, get yours, get more, I actually go the other way, have less, and go deep, not wide. So that's the first question. Who wants to work with me? Second question is, who wants to work with me, but just later, like they're not ready. And so my background is, I was an inside sales agent for Jordan, actually. That's how I got my start. First day of training, little tangent here. I literally came in and interviewed for the job, accepted it, and first day of training, he showed me the CRM, hey, here's how you'd make a dial, and then he had to go. And when we
end.
right
Good
the
luck.
end, like literally, so he came back and I had 4 appointments set for him. So I have a background in like insurance sales, so I knew how to talk on the phone, and I was just like, all right, here's a bunch of leads that haven't been called. I'm gonna just start working my way through this, and everything else we've built from there. So luckily our training's not like that now, but like that was my start into
Call
real
these
estate.
people.
You know, like just
Oh
all
man,
right,
they
call
threw
these
you
people.
right to the
Oh
wolves.
yeah, that's part of it is you have to do that, but also I'm just self-motivated person. So anyways,
Yeah.
that second question is really important because too often, and this is where like the leverage of the team comes in, real estate agents and real estate professionals are running around like chickens with their head cut off. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like even on the lending side, there's a lot happening with every client that you're working with. So you can only give a high level of service to a few. So you need to have a way to what we call lifetime nurture a client. And it's a lot more simple than we think. So at Community, we have an ISA team, an inside sales team. So an inside sales agent who their number one job is to take care of people who aren't ready to buy or sell yet.
I love that.
That's their job. And they're going out and finding newer opportunities for agents, but their primary job is to nurture that second question of like who wants to work with me, but not yet.
And that's such a missed area of business in this industry. Like there's so many people that are not yet.
Yep.
And the worst part too is if you have a CRM and you like, it's been a few years and then you start going through it and you call them and they bought with someone else.
Yep.
And you're like, what happened? I thought your credit score was 500 and you didn't have a down payment saved up. No one nurtured them.
Yeah. Well, that was 2 years ago.
Right.
And
someone nurtured them. It wasn't you.
To be transparent, that happens to us.
Yeah.
It's not going to be 100%, but you need to have a lifetime nurture. And so if you are an agent and you don't have an ISA, you are the ISA, I'll just give you one tactical thing. You should be sending a weekly email to your entire database. Just an email. Email marketing, I used to poo-poo it, but then, getting coaching from like our brokerage president, Sharon Savasana, go give him a follow because he has a lot of good stuff to say about following up with people and how to talk to people. Jimmy Mackin, who runs a company called Curator, unbelievable at email marketing. The power of email marketing, like in just keeping emails simple. So here's an example of something we send to our entire database once a week. It's called a deal of the week. We just take a listing and we literally say, Broomfield, deal of the week. This week's deal of the week is in Broomfield. It's a 3-bed, 2-bathroom home, open floor plan, updated, ranch style home, whatever. Give some stats about the neighborhood, like walkability to whatever. List price in bold, and simply at the bottom we say, hey, if you or someone that you know would be interested in a home like this, just simply hit reply. We'll get you the details. No pictures, no links. The point of emails and text messages is to get a response, not to close the deal. So too often I see agents like power pack an email full of all the reasons why someone should work with them.
Yeah.
You just want a response. And so send a weekly email to your entire database. I promise you, if you do that regularly, your audience, right, much like you guys are recording a podcast, they're used to like your podcast coming out on the same day, same time every week, right? So it just becomes that part of their norm, and they're like, subliminally, they're like, yeah, Matt's kept in touch with me for like 3 years doing this. Like, so if you're going to do nothing else, you could do that once a week, right? Because most CRMs have the ability to take one email template and send it to a mass amount of people.
Yep.
Someone that I look up to a lot, Alex Ramosi, calls that leverage. And leverage is simply increasing the amount of output for the same amount of input. So,
yeah. I
So,
like that.
I think you said
Good
really
tip.
2 things that are really important. The first thing is like it doesn't need to be this long, ridiculous
It
thing
shouldn't.
that you do. And the second thing, and the thing that I think we see a lot of times with people who are in sales is they don't systematize stuff.
Nope.
So they see a good idea and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this. And they don't find a way to put it in their system to do it every single time or consistently. And so then they try it 1 or 2 times. It doesn't work.
Yep.
And then they're like, yeah, screw this. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
And so you have to make sure that you are like, when you are implementing something, like you're being thoughtful about like, where in the system does this happen? And like, where in my calendar does this live?
Exactly.
Every single week,
Oh,
like
yeah.
until the end of time. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting, guys. Like, I read a stat. This was staggering to me. 80% of sales happen between the 5th and 12th attempt to follow up with somebody.
Wow.
The average real estate agent in today's industry follows up 1.5 times and then they give up. So we're not giving ourselves enough chances to win. Like, realize that people are just busy. They're not ghosting you. I tell the agents at Community this all the time. Like, they're not ghosting you. They're just busy. They have lives, just like you. They have kids. They're probably they might be going through something you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you never know when you might catch somebody in a moment where they're just in the middle of all this stuff. And that's where empathy comes in, right? It's like, no, like, just like, yep, I hear screaming kids in the background. Hey, guys, no worries. I've got kids too. Like, hey, out of curiosity, maybe we should do this around nap time, maybe? Just cater to their schedule, right? So serve, right? And then the other thing that Jordan has said a lot, and this is what he's so good at, just take the sale off the table, win the relationship. It's not about the sale, it's about the relationship, right?
So powerful.
So we started with those questions. So who wants to work with me now? Who wants to work with me later? Put them into your nurturing system, whatever that looks like, ISA or self-nurture. Send a weekly email if you don't have one. It's super easy. Same time, same date, every week. And then the third thing is, who just doesn't want to work with me? Guys, stop chasing after people who don't want to work with you. Just stop. Like, you don't have enough time in the day for that. So less is way more, right?
Yeah. And even if you convert those ones, like that deal, that working relationship, whatever you're working on is going to be terrible.
Yeah.
And you're not going to like your job.
No, you're going to hate it.
You're going to be miserable.
Yep.
Which is why I love the first point, because I've learned that, and we've talked a lot about that over the past few years. Is like, man, this working with people that you like, that you respect, and that like you and respect your time makes your life so much better. And it makes you feel like the job that you're doing is just like, you love it.
Okay, so here's an important thing though, and I think it's focused on the first and third question, is like, when you're coaching agents, how important or how much of the conversation initially is really talking about like who they are? Because I feel like if you don't know who you are, it's going to be friggin' hard to figure out who the agent is, to connect to like people that they want to work with. Like, I think it's vital for people to really understand like who they are in order to like connect with people that they need to connect with.
In sales, you kind of have to be like a chameleon. It's hard. In order to do that, you have to know yourself really well, like you said. So I do think that and this is something I'm learning along the way, because I'm a student of this game. I don't have everything down. Like, if you think that we have everything together over at Community, like, I could tell you some stories, but it's okay. Nobody does. We like to talk more about like what we do wrong rather than what we do well, just because it's real. So like knowing oneself, I think like this is a struggle for just a human being, right? How do we actually know who we are? And so for me, like, just to be personal with it, like, so I was adopted when I was from birth, and in a very like weird situation. Love my parents, the only people I've ever known as my parents. I was plucked from a situation where my life would have looked totally different if it was there. So just having the gratitude for that, it's amazing how gratitude can shift your perspective, right? So in the moment where you are like, oh my God, I can't get another deal together, like, oh my gosh, this person won't get back to me, pause and think of one thing you can be grateful for looking back in your history. And realize that, hey, I'm going to be okay. And I liken it to this. Nobody's dying right now, right? This is not a matter of life or death, right? I think as so much as industry professionals, we're like, everything's in the here and now and the tyranny of the urgent. Guys, nobody's dying, right? Okay. Take a breath. It's going to be okay. This is just a part of the thing, right? So, and going back to knowing oneself, like I've had to go on a discovery, and I'm only 31, but I've had to go on a discovery the last couple of years of like who I really am. I'm still going through that, man. Like, and really knowing myself. Getting married has helped that like immensely, right? because my wife shows me more about myself every day than anybody else, and she helps.
We
she
like
helps
to
me
do
do
that.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys do.
You guys. I think it just leaning into that, leaning into other relationships. That's why the power again of community. This is why we are who we are. We just want to create community amongst the real estate community in Denver. Literally, being known and knowing others helps you know yourself, right? So if you're a real estate agent or a real estate professional listening to this and you don't have a community, someone to lean on when times get tough or celebrate when times are awesome, like please reach out to me, reach out to Andrew, and we can actually just link arms.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there's too much of the pie to go around to think with a scarcity mindset. We have to think with abundance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, again, winning relationships, both on the client side, but also on the industry side, right?
Yeah,
like we can't
true.
do this alone, y'all.
Yeah.
So this is a tough business. Like I've seen a lot of agents come through and they're just not in a good mental health space. We could go off and do another podcast about this,
God.
but
Yes, we
like,
could.
We could.
guys, like you have to take care of yourself first.
Yeah.
I'm learning that lesson right now more than anything. So I won't go
Yeah.
into it, but like there are some things in my life that I got to take care of me first before anything else.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's challenging too. No, I think that's great advice. Go back and listen to that again. That was awesome. But I do think when you're talking about like the mental health aspect of it and making sure that you're okay, personally, you can't be successful in business or in any other area of your life unless you are good with you.
Yep.
But it's hard in this business though. And I think that's why we all struggle, because like your identity is wrapped up a little bit in your production.
Yep.
And when production's down like these past couple years, you start to question like, okay, who am I? Am I bad at this now? I used to be good at this now. I'm bad. We've all gone through that, but no, I agree, man. Like what you guys are building over there sounds like a just super positive force in the industry. And it's needed.
It isn't perfect, but what I will say is it is built on the backs of on the principle of like humans, every human being on planet Earth, whether you're buying a house, selling a house, being the person that's helping them doing that. On the lending side, I'm just talking in real estate terms, like on the title side, like on the staging side, like all of us need to be seen, known, and loved for who we are. We're created that way, frankly. So that's just what we want to help people feel.
Have you ever heard of the Harlow monkey experiment?
No.
Yeah, okay,
No.
so
I'm going to learn something. I'm so excited about this.
So they did this experiment where they basically put up all of these monkeys in these cages, and we're watching what would happen when they released them, and they didn't give them food, they didn't give them connection to each other, they were isolated with no food. Well, what they found when they released them is that they assumed that these monkeys, they were starving, that they were going to go to the food, and immediately before they went to the food, went towards each other. And so I think when you guys are thinking about, building this community of agents, it's we're hardwired for connection, and we're hardwired to live in a community and support each other. Yeah. And that makes us better at our jobs. It makes us better at life, right? And so being able to provide that level of support for agents means that they're more likely to be successful, in their life and their job.
Yep. And that's not, it's not unbeknownst to probably you guys, the standard or the bar of success in our business is very high.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The barrier to entry is very low. Considerably, and it's getting higher because of regulations and that's not a bad thing, frankly, because it's just to protect people from people at the end of the day. But in order to get to the bar of success, whatever that, and that's relative to what you call successful, by the way. That's not a standard. It's relative, because we have agents at Community that want to just sell 12 homes a year, and that's great. That's what they want, right? Again, we want to help agents ultimately get what they want. We have agents at Community that want to sell 100 homes a year, and that's what they want. But in order to do that, it's built on the same principles. Right? You just do more of it. Yeah. So in those same principles, it's really, really critical to have people to lean on. Coaching, community, connection, Our sales meeting with our team happens the same time, same day, every week, and it we try to make it fun. We do quarterly offsites where we just get out of the weeds of the business and start to think high level. And those are more about connection, right? More about personal life. We do fun things together. We actually the team just did this. Wish for Wheels is a great organization that's actually helping people, helping underprivileged areas in schools and kids, like giving bikes away for free, like building a bike. Like as a kid, like think about it, like you had a bike, right? It's like one of the best things about being a kid. You can just get on your bike and riding, right?
Yeah.
It's your car. It's the same thing as a car for an adult. Like it's a bike to a kid. And so we get to build bikes for these kids. And so, I mean, I think we built like 150 bikes in one day.
That's
and
awesome.
just got to give them away. We're doing community events like that all the time. Because alongside of the real estate thing, we do have a nonprofit extension called Community Impact. And what good is it if we make all this money and don't actually like make a change in our community, right? So at the end of the day, and this is something I so respect about Jordan, and something that him and his wife Megan have taught my wife Rebecca and I. They base their income goal every year off of how much they want to give.
That's awesome.
Not how much they want to make.
That's really cool.
That's impactful. Like when you can look at your life through the lens of giving. I firmly believe that, and this is not a norm in social constructs at all, but how much you make is directly proportionate to the amount of value you give. Right. And I wish it were like that for people like Rebecca, my wife, who's a nurse and gives a huge amount of value. Or for teachers, like you can think of all sorts of different organizations where that's not true.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe that's an issue. So,
but I think it is an issue.
In our business, we win relationships. Right. So the amount of value that you give, the amount of relationships that you win over, like your compensation's directly tied to that. So that's not closing deals, winning relationships again.
So in terms of coaching, right? And I know you said you got a background as an ISA, and now you're coaching agents. One of the most impactful things for me as a sales professional was having a coach. I don't think many agents could be successful without a coach. And the reason why you mentioned nurturing clients. The way I built my business was I reached out to agents and I had them give me a list of their not yets. And so I would call them and that's how, and they were like, they're like, fine, here's this. I was a brand new agent. And so I would call them and, try and schedule a meeting and get them pre-approved. But my management at the time would record all of our calls. And I remember at the very beginning, they brought me in and sat me down and we listened to a call that I thought went great. I was like, I converted it. I got the social, and we listened to it, and I could not believe that this person gave me their social security number. I was like, what are they? I was mumbling. I said every other word. So like from a standpoint of being a coach, like do you go through that with your agents? Like do you listen to calls?
Here's how we coach an agent that's at Community that's onboarding into our leads program. We give them 7 to 8 leads. And these are all teed up. We're a big Zillow Flex partner in the area. So this is just giving us the window to listen to calls. Those are all recorded. I'll sit with them. We'll listen to 3 calls and we'll pick it apart. The good, the bad, the ugly. The don't do this because, hey, when you said this, did you notice how their response was this? They actually shut down because you asked a closed-ended question like, are you pre-approved? That's a bad question versus like, just asking somebody like, hey, Andrew, has anyone taken the time to help you understand what your buying power looks like in today's market? So when we ask questions, I believe there's 3 ways to ask questions, right? One, they got to be open-ended. Like you don't want a yes or no question.
No yes
that's
or
not.
no's.
That's just like a no, like a sales no. Ask open-ended questions, right? Ask a sorting question. Like give them an option, because when you give people an option, like, hey, this or that, they're going to pick one, right? The answer is better quality. And then framing. Framing is so important. How we say things, how we frame them is so important because it helps the person understand what we're asking, right? And so when you frame a question the right way, you should describe what the thing does, not what it is. So what does meeting with a lender get you? Understanding what your buying power looks like in today's market. What does meeting with an agent get you? Well, a detailed game plan on how to get what you want, right? So yes, we sit with agents, listen to calls, pick it apart. We should probably do more of that. There's it's not just me. Jordan does that. Our director of agents, Dave Lewis, who's one of like the best people at following up with folks and sales skills. He listens to calls and gives feedback. Like, you have to be committed to that. That's a grind, y'all. Like listening to calls.
Oh,
I've heard some bad ones.
Well, and like being open to taking that feedback as the agent.
That's
like,
hard.
It's
hard.
Really hard. It's hard because we brought people on our team too, and we've done it, and they couldn't handle it. It was like they heard it, and it was like, oh my god, I shut down. I can't do this. I won't do this. It's because it's very uncomfortable.
Someone that I respect a lot in this industry, his name is Ben Kinney. Ben Kinney runs a company called Place, which Goldman and Sachs just gave them $100 million. Like they're like a big player.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Fine,
right? He said that accountability is the highest form of love.
Oh,
so
like that.
If you can, and that's how we try to teach,
that.
right? That's how we try to teach our agents of like, hey, this is to help you, right? And it's like Dion, and going back to the Buffs thing, he understands that that accountability is the highest form of love, and that's how he treats the team. Like he's like, hey, here are the expectations to be on the team, and when you fall below those, I'm going to coach you up or coach you out. And I'm going to coach you up so many amount of times. But if there's guys on his team that are failing in school, you're not playing the next game.
Right.
Because standards without consequences are just suggestions. So, like, consequences are okay, right? Because it teaches us not to do that. Hey, when you burn your hand when you touch the stove, you're never going to do that again, right? So there has to be a little bit of pain. I don't like doing that because I don't like punishing people.
Right.
But it's all about the perspective, right?
Exactly. And the awareness.
Right.
Like it was life-changing for me. Like I say that all the time. I mumble. I'm monotone as hell. I still am. But like
me too, man.
It's tough.
But I think your consequence in some level is sitting there listening to that. That's like really difficult to go through, right?
Right, but then but then it changes the way that you think, and then when you speak, especially when you're on the phone, you start to actually be aware of what you're talking about.
Right.
And it's similar, and I know you're a drummer in a band, Red Rocks Worship, correct?
Yeah.
Yep. So I think there's probably some connections there, right? Because when you first learn to drum, or like when you play a sport, when you first start, you're thinking, like if I'm shooting the ball, I'm thinking, okay, my elbow's in, I'm releasing, and then it has to become eventually like part of your instincts to be hitting that shot, or drumming in the correct way. But like maybe talk a little bit about your career as a drummer. And
I'd love to do that. So I play drums for
I so badly wanted to start like doing
it.
Like
right.
I
was actually jamming out to it this morning.
Drums
we
is
had
like
it on
the best
Alexa.
instrument because like guitar players, but you have to actually pick up something to play it. I can do that right here. Like
prove it. No.
Prove it. Right? Anyways, I'm a little bit biased, but so I play drums for Red Rocks Worship. We're the worship extension of Red Rocks Church, which is a pretty thriving church here in Denver. We've got 4 different locations here, and one in Austin, and then one overseas in Brussels. But Red Rocks Worship simply exists to just put songs of hope and encouragement out to people, so that they can like have hope and encouragement like throughout the week, right? It's because most people that go to church, or maybe they even don't go to church, honestly, most of those songs are written for people who don't go to church. So anyways, I've been a drummer since I was 3 years old. I'm 31, so I'm terrible at math. So 28 years. They say like you need 10,000 hours to master something. I don't think I've mastered drums, but I have spent a lot of time practicing. And there's 2 ways to practice. You can either watch yourself in the game, kind of like an NFL player, right? Like Peyton Manning or Russ, rip to Russell Wilson, going to the Steelers. Ask me how I feel about that later. But let's just take Peyton Manning, man. Peyton Manning, he reviewed game film. Agents, sales professionals, not listening to your calls is like you trying to be a Hall of Fame MVP quarterback and refusing to watch game film.
Thank you.
It's never going to happen. Like, It's never going to happen. If you can't have the awareness to realize where your shortcomings are, you're never going to get better. Like, and so again, there's two ways to practice. You can either watch yourself or you can practice the fundamentals. And at Community, we role play 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day.
Love it.
Yeah.
8:30 to 9.
A lot of coaches too.
Yep. That's where I was before, we started recording this, is we were doing a role play.
Yeah.
We just practice what to say, which is the other part of my job, is helping agents practice what to say. Right.
Yeah.
So and drums has helped me with that immensely, just because I've had to pour the time and practice into it. It is a discipline. Now I can do it without thinking. Right.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, like, Matt, how do you come up with these like frameworks and scripts and yada, yada, yada? It's like, well, I just have spent the last 10 years talking to people on the phone.
Yeah.
It's just doing it. It's repetition. Like the Peyton Mannings of the world, the best drummers in the world, the best musicians, the best painters, the best lenders. Like there's just time that has to elapse. You got to put time into this.
Yeah.
And it's really hard too, as a sales professional early on, to have grace for yourself when you screw up. Guys, the point of role play is so that you don't practice on your clients. Like, don't do that. And we're very serious about that. Like at Community, it's like, hey, we don't want you practicing on the people that are your clients. We want you practicing like in an arena where it's safe to like screw up. Because if in y'all's world, if you don't like cross a T or dot an I, someone could lose their earnest money.
Yeah.
Right. And now you're affecting their livelihood. Like little mistakes like that, or not saying things the right way, or for an agent putting something wrong in the contract, or explaining this way that doesn't help somebody understand, it could like impact their life.
Sure.
We shouldn't be practicing that on our leads, clients, anybody. We should be doing that in an environment where it's actually safe to fail. But again, Ben Kinney says this all the time. Practice it so many times that when it comes time for you to say it, it's impossible for you to fail. Right? So the way that I talk on the phone with a potential client or a client of our teams, it's just how I talk in real life.
Yeah. No, authenticity is everything, because if you're not authentic, it's not going to come across as easily. It's going to be really difficult for you to continue.
And
last question.
Yeah.
If you could write a book about one thing,
Oh man.
what would it be?
It's kind of funny you bring that up. Can I tell you the title and what it would be about?
Of course.
Okay. The title would be Just Curious, and the subtitle would be The Art and Science Behind Connecting with People.
Love it.
Write it.
Yeah. So
That's great.
when I got time, right?
Yeah.
Well, we have to have you. I know you got to get out of here, but this went by really fast.
It did.
You have a lot of really good information to share.
Yeah.
Check out Matt McKenzie, everyone.
Yeah.
Where's the best place to find you?
Honestly, Facebook is where you're going to see most of the real estate stuff. Instagram is mostly drums, but if you want to check that out too, it's there too. Like, connect with me. Shoot me a DM on Instagram. Shoot me a DM on Facebook. I will give out my contact information. You shoot me a text, like email, whatever. I pretty much respond to everything. I live by inbox 0, so you'll get a response from me.
Love it.
It's like it's a tall task, but it's worth it.
Isn't it so great?
Oh my gosh!
And there's no going
at the
back.
End of the day.
Yeah,
right, for sure.
no.
That's where you can get a hold of me. Honestly, if you see a community event, we've got one actually coming up this Thursday. Not sure if this will be out in time, but it's all about lead generation. And it's at Mile High Station. I can send you all the link.
Yeah, send it
We'd
to
love
us.
for you guys to come
Yeah,
actually if you're free. So
Okay.
But, yep.
Great.
Well, check them out, and we love what you guys are doing.
Thanks.
Love what you stand for, and thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me. It was a blessing.
Thanks,
All right.
Matt.
All right.
See ya.
Peace.